Well, this is Steve Ridgel, and I try to read a chapter out of the Bible every day. And I do it in such a way that I read every chapter about 3 times, and it just it helps me to repeat and to learn that way. But my Old Testament reading has been in Leviticus. Now, if you know anything about Leviticus, Leviticus is the book where Bible reading plans go to die. It is hard, and it is confusing, and it is repetitive, and it's hard to understand. It is a bunch of rules and laws about how God's people are to live, and they seem so harsh and so strict. And some of them I understand. I mean, I really get the prohibition against no more sacrifices to demon goats. Okay, that makes sense to me. But as I read through it, one thing I've come to appreciate, God was teaching his people how to live. And sometimes when you're teaching people how to live, you have to say, here are the rules around how you do that. Don't do this, be sure you do not, whatever happens, do this. Just a lot of that. But it dawns on me that God's people, a lot of that, because you'll see these little glimpses every once in a while where God is insistent they not be like the people in the land where they live. We're going to be different. And God goes to great lengths to explain to them and instruct them how to live different. So as I go through Leviticus, two or three things strike me. One is sometimes we probably do need rules. Everybody, I get the great commandments. Love God, love your neighbors, yourself. I get that. And I think all the law and the prophets, as was said, they all hinge on those commands. I get that. But sometimes somebody needs to spell out, here's what that means. Don't do this, do this. And I even think sometimes with new Christians, we have to be careful to say, here's what that means. Live this way. Don't do that. Do this. We even need those reminders sometimes. So, okay, I get that. I'm really struck by how insistent God is that you do things my way. I'm God. I'm going to tell you what's best. You will do these. You may not understand them, but you're going to do this. We need a little more of that. I need that sometimes to remember that, you know what, if God were to say, Steve, let me explain why I said this, why I want you to do this, I probably wouldn't understand it anyway because he's that far above me. But I'm really struck by the holiness of God and that we're supposed to obey God. And I'm really struck in Leviticus by how different God's people are from the world around them. And we live in a time where there's a lot of people, a lot of churches, a lot of Christians saying, we need to be like culture. Now, they don't say it that way, but all of a sudden they're able to reinterpret God's word in so many ways that we really fit comfortably into our culture. I'm not sure God's people have ever been supposed to fit into culture comfortably. I'm not. Boy, Leviticus sure indicates they're not. And so the other thing I would leave you about Leviticus, it reminds me that, you know what? All the Bible's got value. It all does. I don't understand it all. I don't get it. I'm reading through Leviticus basically 3 times over the course of about 3 or 4 months. And a lot of it I don't get. But it's there because God thought it valuable. And so it's good for me to read it. And so that's where I'm learning from Leviticus.